let's call it to order. I got, hold on a second. Yes, roll call.
Kate Edwards,
George Harris.
Sandy Butler,
Bob does.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve minutes?
I motion to approve. I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
There you go.
We're good. All right. Whole business.
None.
None. New business. Okay.
All right, so in March, when you guys were here last, we approved some grant money for the east side, left side in this picture of Tyler Martin's building for all the brickwork to be redone, the half arch windows to be put above the door and a new window to be put in, as well as repairing the column toppers there and the limestone kind of accents and cleaning the whatever those embossed things are. And this rendering of the little building, I have been calling it, was also a part of that to just kind of get your feedback on what kind of rehab you might want to see have done there. The entire awning was removed, and that wrapped around the entirety of the building, short of the very south end. It wasn't on the very back of the original building. So Tyler has removed that and he is looking to update now this little building. As we just established, it is historic. While it doesn't have its own address, it could potentially have its own address if you ever wanted to build a wall in the middle of it and sell it off or parcel it off. He could do that. But it is kind of its own building. It has its own entrance, has its own distinct feel. So this is kind of the idea of what he'd like to see done here, with the eventuality that it could potentially be occupied by someone else. So you can see there is a metal siding that is imitation wood, as well as putting some lighting up in the soffits and encasing the soffits and separating kind of the brick to wood area. The reason he didn't decide to do brick back up towards the roof line is because it's very hard to match. It's also recessed back a little bit as well because the awning was there. So it just wasn't practical, and he didn't want it to look kind of like it didn't match and didn't go there. So this is the idea that he and his architect came up with. So there are two options. There is a horizontal siding and a vertical siding to fill in this where that awning was. I mean, that awning was nearly as tall as half of this building. I mean, it was a very, very tall awning. So this is the vertical siding here on the right, examples of that. He does want to go with a brownish color. And then these are some examples of the horizontal. I don't really recall the product name. But this is what him and his architect have found. So what he did is he asked for a grant for the higher amount, which is the vertical siding, with the caveat that, you know, should he want to do horizontal or this board deems it thusly, then his grant will be amended to reflect that. So any initial questions on that? I think the reason that he had kind of looked at both is because there is some examples of vertical metal siding on State Street as well. There is also the horizontal, which is over on the Citizens Bank. It's a similar type of product. I think either one would look really lovely here. I think the vertical might actually kind of help the building appear taller and kind of less smushed. With that too, because this is kind of a half and half split of materials. It's gonna be half this metal wood siding and then half brick. So there's kind of some ability to play on the illusion there that it's a bit taller of a building, a little less smushed. But I think the horizontal looks nice as well. So the PAS building and then Bombshell over here are just two that I just kind of quickly looked side to side, and so we have some vertical siding there. So I think either one would look really nice in that space.
I concur.
Yeah. So that's why he kind of just asked for the higher of the two, and then once he really gets into it with the architect, he'll decide which one he thinks looks better. I don't know if that's another rendering that he'll have done, and then also with like the color that he wants, like I said, it'll be kind of a brownish color, but I'm sure there's a million hues that
Oh,
he
yeah.
can choose from, and one might look better vertical than horizontal.
So he's looking at the color match being more like the samples.
I mean, this is
What's up
what,
here?
this is, yeah, more like what's actually
A
on
lot
the,
less red.
the rendering, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think it'll be like black or anything like that, but you know, there's probably a lot of different wood grain styles that are in this kind of reddish family. But I think his inspiration was the Citizens Building. That's kind of a warmer wood tone
Mhm.
on those panels. So the thing he did tell me about the vertical siding style is that it's more seamless. There's like on the horizontal siding, you have to have some sort of cap, or I don't know what it's called, frankly, but it's something about like every so many boards, you have to have something
Mhm.
there to secure it in some way. He said with the vertical siding, you don't have to do that, and or it's all concealed. It's a lot more seamless looking, so.
The vertical is.
The vertical style, yeah, maybe I might be able to tell on this kind. No, not really, because these aren't all the same color. Um, But nice product, so essentially that's what he's asking for, is for the encasing of the roof line, the soffit lighting, and then the metal wood illusion material. So the estimates for both are in there, but the ask at max is 36,175.
So where the roof is at, and it's all black, you say that's all metal, or has that been painted? It's gonna be painted.
I mean, it would be like a black metal with, it would enclose all of this, that's the exposed rafters.
So that's all that would all be metal.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Cap roof area with black metal overhang.
Looks awfully modern for a 50-year-old building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's, is there something else that you do with that metal black part? I mean, could you,
We could ask.
yeah, I'm okay with that vertical or horizontal wood. I'm okay with that, but the roof line just looks too modern for me. And if the building, we say it is over 50 years old,
Mhm.
that would not be a material that would normally be used. I don't think Bob would be the expert on that.
Arts and crafts movement, 1900 through 1930s. Homes had up to 4 feet overhang on them, some maybe slightly more.
Mhm.
And if you go around and look there, arts and crafts, and there's something similar to that. And then knowing for sure what the material is on the bottom side. I have no objection to the plain look.
Mhm.
I see how he's pulling the black in from the original, from the older. Black trim.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not sure. What I do sort of see here are like brackets that look like these. If you can kind of see those little
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
bracket marks there. So I wonder if maybe those could just be accentuated or maybe even painted a different color. But I see what you're saying, Sandy.
Yeah, it just looks kind of modern to me. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't get a good view of it. I can barely.
You see the
it.
yeah, they're the brackets there.
And I can see the brackets on the old part.
Let's see if Google can.
Well, that's what it's showing.
Yeah.
I don't think putting extensions out in those spots and having them painted a different color, I think that's too busy.
Might look a little too Italianate, huh? Okay, I know that's not a huge picture, but there's an overhang. Commercial. Come on.
Why do they want to use metal? Is that just easier?
I'm sure it is, and it's probably
Less maintenance.
less maintenance with being on the roof
Yeah.
perhaps. Than potential for wood getting wet. Okay,
I just see the building across the street with the metal on there. The hair place.
bombshell?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't really care for that. It looks too moderate for me too.
Yeah, well, but, I mean, this is basically without the, I mean, it's more of a flat surface
Yeah,
on this.
yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, it is a building that, you know, most of the style that's coming out of this, yeah.
Well,
is from
that's,
the period
yeah.
it was built, so.
And-
But Jerry's has a metal over.
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
one's we approved that.
Yeah, it's cool.
And that was kind of gonna be my next question is, you know,
Yeah.
since it is an addition to a building and even though, you know, the brick is nice, and maybe at one point accentuated the original structure. It is kind of more modern and it also, yeah, it's a little, it doesn't really have a footprint like our other buildings do. Just because of it being an addition. Now, it obviously needs to fit in with what we have. But Bob, like I know that you kind of mentioned before, you know, newer buildings don't necessarily need to be made look like they're old. You know, like if you were to fill in a building in this space, it doesn't necessarily have to look like an older building.
That's example.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how I envisioned this, where I'm not really sure where what kind of genre it would fit into if we were to classify this as its own building. Except 1950s, 60s Art Deco, maybe.
Yeah,
You know, it's a little lost, you know, and especially if he does plan on parceling it off or bricking off that wall and selling it as its own little structure. I don't
This
really,
goes to my big argument when I go to national parks. I mean, historic preservation, and there's a number of people that do happily agree with me. They don't appear to be here today, but this is a new building. And thread that's been on it for some time, but it's a new structure. Are we going to stagnate? Are we gonna make rules that do not allow us to progress?
Mhm.
I feel that is wrong.
Because, you know, like I think you've mentioned before, to your point, like in 50 more years, whatever kind of roof structure or awning or what have you on that little building, you know, that might be the new historic look. And that's what people want to try to emulate.
I
when it
mean, right
comes-
next door with the gallery.
Sure,
Having
yeah,
been built, having been changed back in 1958.
right. Right.
Is
It's-
that black over the gallery?
It's a kind of a charcoal gray, yeah. But I mean, in doing the restoration, it was historic. I mean, I would love to have restored it to its original
And that's what we wanted to use.
1890s, but that would have cost a fortune, so.
Was that the brick?
Well,
When it was the brick?
it had arched, it had like three arched, two arched windows and
Oh,
an arched
yes,
opening.
that's right. I have a
originally.
picture of that.
And to do that would have been cost prohibitive anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we got the grant,
Hmm.
I guess the architect that came in and said, look, this is the only example you really have of a mid-mod
Right.
or mid-century modern building in Pendleton.
And it does look awesome.
It was all about
It's
preserving
great.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
and it looks so
Yeah.
much better now.
So with that, you know, kind of with the roof structure, you know, like you said, we do have some metal down here at Jerry's building with the awning. Which this building did have an awning way back in the day. It was more of the ones that, you know, were on the little poles that sat out in the street. And they were canvas, more
Right.
than likely. So going back to that here. I mean, yeah, it does look modern. I won't deny that, but you know, that being a modern building, maybe that's the best fit for the roof. As looking at, you know, if we try to look at what, oh gosh. What did they do? I know, I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Oh, goodness. Okay. Like the arts and crafts, like, or, overhang, I'm trying to find something that might be kind of relevant to see if there's any way we could even slightly modify it. I might just not be looking in the right place, but usually Google gives me some sort of insight. I don't know, I don't really feel like,
Hmm.
since it's a flat roof, maybe that's how it changes a little bit.
Picture, I can't really tell. Having a larger, you have more protection for pedestrians and the sidewalk.
Mhm.
So either
And the ATM.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, the ATM.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I haven't gone out there and measured it or anything like that, but I'd imagine it's not gonna be much more than what's in this original picture. It's just gonna kind of cap it up and seal it off. So if you can imagine what's out there right now, maybe add a couple inches or so. Might be a little bit larger than that. Right now it does a pretty decent job in, shielding people, so. A pretty large overhang.
I like the lighting coming down on the top section, but I hope it's not gonna be glaring
Super
bright,
bright,
Yeah.
yeah.
because everything else in town is soft.
I mean, these will fit our lighting ordinance. Everything has to be shielded or downlit. Since 2021 when we adopted that. So I know it'll fit that, and there's a lumen maximum on those as well. So I think it's probably just all about the kind of bulbs you put in it.
And the sign where it says Martin Insurance, that's acceptable, correct?
Yes, and that will not be illuminated. It's just the sign he's got there right now. He's just gonna move it up there. So. All righty.
Do we need a motion?
Mhm.
To me, that makes sense.
The horizontal.
I kind of like the horizontal. I prefer the horizontal, but I'm sure they would.
I think either one would be fine. I mean, my personal preference, just by that much, is a horizontal.
Yeah.
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 So I'll make a
Whatever
motion,
you do, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we accept as presented.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We're good. Done and done.
Okay.
That other building is gorgeous, that really.
That is gonna be so cool.
He said work will start, within a couple weeks. So
Really?
he'd like to have both buildings done by the end of summer.
Oh,
Awesome.
Yeah. I was like, all right, because the folks who took off the awning are doing the little building and they're very fast. So
I assume they're gonna have to block the part of the sidewalk off anyway with scaffolding.
yeah, we'll just kind of work with them like what we did with the awning. And then Tyler and PAS are already kind of aware if we need to move the flower pots or put any sort of protective coverings over the frames when they are working in the walkway. But he wasn't concerned about, I mean, because they got a scissor lift in there to get that awning off anyway, so now they have even more room with that
Yeah.
on. So he's not super concerned about it, but we'll coordinate with them.
So I still don't understand though, is this facade that we're looking at going to continue on the west side and the south side to cover up?
Yeah,
center?
everywhere where the awning was removed and the cinder blocks are showing
Right.
was what
So-
we covered.
I was also gonna ask about the east side of the larger building.
Okay,
What's being done there? I mean, because there's kind of some weird structural stuff going on there.
The word structural stuff is left over from somebody might remember that better than me, but there's a parking garage there, poured
Mhm.
concrete. So this poured concrete sections that you see there
Ah,
are part of that.
really? Okay.
oh, is that what that middle stripe is in the building?
Those horizontal, or I mean, so vertical,
Oh,
vertical areas
yeah.
there, is that part of the parking garage?
Well, in this, I can't see it.
yeah, this one is only from 2019.
The awning's also there.
Yeah.
then you can see the
Mhm.
poured concrete running back.
So yeah, everything that's, over here, that's ATM related, is in the process of being removed.
My watch.
Watch
Ah.
it, Virginia.
Siri.
Is in the process of being removed. It'll be ground down, the, concrete, kind of like where the ATM used to be.
Mhm.
We're not touching the concrete on either side of the buildings, the little, like barriers for the cars, or on the PAS side, because we don't want to shake the buildings. So like that tiny strip that you see, like right there where that car is, we're
Mhm.
not removing that. And there's another one on the other side from the other drive-through that used to exist, and we're not removing that either.
And there's, what about the one on the gallery side? Is that gonna stay there as well?
That's gonna stay there too.
Okay.
Unless we come up with a better, safer, where everyone's more
Right.
comfortable idea on how to remove that without jarring the buildings with a jackhammer.
Yeah, I say put a bench there or something.
Yeah, I think we put a flower pot on it, you know.
How's that gonna coordinate with the walkway between that and PAS?
In like what way? With,
Well, there's talk about the walkway and tables and things being put in,
mm-hmm,
and so we need to know if there's gonna be any conflict between the different construction teams that are working on it.
we're not gonna do anything with this, like ceiling or decorating it until Tyler's done with his building. Probably. I mean, maybe if he decides to go back to front, we could get it in there
Do you
earlier,
have a
but
rendering of what the space would look like?
not on here,
Okay,
no. The only thing with that I think we're probably gonna disinclude, from that rendering is the painting of the walkway, cause we wanna paver it with brick paver.
Oh, that is.
So that would kind of be
does
the
that mean
only.
taking up the asphalt?
No, there's actually these really, maybe like a small amount of milling, but there's these really cool product pavers that, Tyler actually found that come in like every different style. Where you don't have to remove all the asphalt and then put down a layer of like gravel sand
Mhm.
and all that. They're pretty high tech. But they can look like just about anything on it.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Is that about-
I think so. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, and they're also, I think they're probably better for rain absorption anyway, stormwater than regular asphalt is. Not as good as like grass, but you know,
Yeah.
probably a little better.
Works.
Yeah.
They're pretty hard, high fire brick.
Mhm. Yeah, so we're looking into that, and we're updating our lease agreement with Tyler because he's striping, we're gonna be striping in more spots in that area in between there. We can fit 4 more spots, and their Banning ran a vehicle driving software
Mhm.
and determine how many we could realistically fit in that space, just for now, until he decides to build a building or do something with that space. So we're redoing our lease with him anyway, and that walkway is included within like 365 days. We have to have the pavers or something put in,
Okay.
so. So yeah, very excited. Let's see, I have an update for you on our National Register inventory. I got an email from JP Hall yesterday. So we're gonna set up kind of a midway meeting and see where his students are at. But from what I can tell, they're rocking and rolling. The Ball State Technical Design Grant Report is finished. It'll be presented at the Main Street Annual Meeting, since they were the direct recipient of the grant for that. The student is gonna be presenting, at the Main Street meeting. So Carrie said if any of you would like to go, it is 6 p.m. Thursday, the 15th. And Karsten will be presenting there, and if you'd like to go
This month?
Oh,
on
wow.
Thursday.
Oh, this coming Thursday.
Yes, so, and let me know and I will let Carrie know so we can make sure there's enough food.
What time is?
6 p.m.
About how long will it last?
I mean, her presentation probably only 20 minutes, but the event is their annual kind of gathering, so it's an hour, hour and a half.
I'll be there,
Okay.
and I'll find that bringing Helen Rescue with me.
And it's at PAS?
Mhm.
Oh, a PS, okay.
And that's, that, grant that they got where we had one back in 1995 from Ball State where they hand drew what all of the different levels of rehab could look like on, I think, 5 buildings. So I think our building might have been one of them that showed like if you did a mild restoration, a moderate restoration, and then a complete restoration. Now we have Rhino and SketchUp, and it can show you all those things in 3D. So instead of hand drawings, which is really cool. So she did 5 buildings. I can't remember each of them off the top of my head, but I know that Headbangers was one of them. The KA Electric building down on the corner, and the buildings in between that one and Jerry. So like where Goods Candies is. The ones with a lot of stucco is kind of what we
Yes.
focused on this go round.
Good.
And then, yeah, I think that, oh, and then she threw in the building right behind us where Joanne has the travel agency, just because that was our oldest building. So that was really nice of her to do that. So, our historic marker, I ordered it in mid-April, so it'll take 8 weeks to fabricate and get here, and then the street department will install it for us. Yeah, I'm super excited. And I think Tammy is looking to get one as well for over by the library. She talked with the fabricator that we used yesterday, and they're really excited.
Yeah.
They look really cool.
Yeah.
Any questions, anything on updates or anything we have going on?
I do have one question on the street on Thursday. If I invite some of my board members to come, should I contact you if they're gonna be attending, or is it just an open meeting?
No, it's not an open meeting because they want to make sure they have enough food and drink for everyone. So if they are gonna come, Carrie said if
Just
I
saying.
asked you guys tonight so that he would know he can RSVP.
Are you planning on that? Oh, you do, okay.
Yeah, you're in with Main Street.
I work, I'm with Main
Yeah.
Street too, so I just got.
I wanted
Oh,
to Reggie, but I can let you know later tonight.
okay, yeah, that'd be good. I can let Carrie know tomorrow. I'm sure they've got plenty. They just want to know.
Yeah.
How many numbers they've got.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. That's all I've got. Anything, Dr. Lau, Mr. Gardner?
Any questions? Nothing.
All right.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.